Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to stand here today as a Green voice in support of my impressive colleague Louisa Wall's bill for marriage equality. The Green Party is voting en bloc in support of this bill because for us it's a human rights issue and there's no matter of conscience when it comes to rights and equality under the law. And for us, even if the majority of New Zealand was opposed to this bill, we would still support it because we understand that human rights exist to protect the minority from the majority. And that is what this bill does. I'd like to acknowledge my colleague Kevin Haig, who has worked so hard for us on behalf of the Greens in this kaupapa, and to everyone else who sat on the Select Committee. I know that hearing the stories of pain and injury caused by discrimination can be really hard, so I honour you for that work. And I'd like to then acknowledge everyone, and many of you I know are here tonight, who shared your personal stories with the committee and this House and this process to help us make the right decision tonight. I really hope that your stories guide our votes. And I hope that for the really beautiful young queer people, some of whom I also know are here tonight, that I met a few months ago who told me that they would cry if Parliament ever had a queer-straight alliance, I hope they're going to cry tonight because I hope this is going to be an example of a queer-straight alliance standing up for all of our rights. And so far, I've been so encouraged by how much progress we've made in this debate, and to see that 7 years on from the debate around civil unions, that 8 out of 9 political party leaders are supporting this bill. I do believe, as a country, we are making progress. One of the reasons I support this bill is for my mum and dad. That when I came out, my parents really struggled. They didn't and they don't live in the lovely liberal bubble that I do in Wellington. They don't have my beautiful community to tell them that my identity and by association, they and their identity is okay. And they've worried. They've worried for me, and they've at times, I believe, worried how people would judge them. So I want my parents to know that society has moved on and that there's less chance now that I or they will be judged for my sexuality. But most importantly, I think for me, I want those people who have been bullying our young queer and trans people to know that as a society, we've ended legal discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, and we've taken one more step towards ending discrimination on the basis of gender identity. We have moved on, and they are now well and truly out of step. While I've got no desire to marry, even if someone was asking, I do want the possibility for my friends and others who want to. I want to see that equality in our law. Civil unions are not equality. People who aren't told they can't do it can't tell us that's equality. They are a compromise. They tell us and the rest of society that there's something intrinsically different about our emotions and our relationships. And while I absolutely celebrate difference, even after reading all the submissions and all the emails that tell me otherwise, I still do not believe that our love is essentially different. The day before the first reading, a friend celebrated 5 years together with her partner. She has a house with her partner, they parent a child together, they share their lives together. That day they marched for marriage equality together, because their relationship is just as valid as any heterosexual couple's. And while I definitely believe that that's true without this law, I want them to know that this Parliament also thinks that's true. I want them to be assured that we see their relationship as intrinsically the same as that between a loving man and woman. I want them and their little one to know that this society does not discriminate on the basis of sexuality, and one day entirely not on gender identity. And I want someone who is married and then transitions in their gender to and stays and is then married to somebody of the same gender, not to have to divorce their partner as they do now. And I want heterosexual friends, like my colleague Holly Walker, to be able to marry in good conscience, knowing her gay friends can too, if that's what she wants to do. Marriage has changed over time, mostly for the better, and now it just needs this change to reflect our current social norm. I'm pleased the Greens and so many of us in this Parliament recognise this issue for what it is, an issue of rights and an opportunity to legislate for the possibility of a society without discrimination. Kia ora.
The Honourable Chester Borrows.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is a privilege to be able